right, here he is. Welcome to the channel, Rob Brandt. Rob, how we doing?
What's going on, man? I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, dude.
Rob is, so if you're on my channel and you watch the video with Zach Molzer or watch the video with Ben Cooper, they mention how much Rob has impacted their business as Cutco reps. And I've seen it myself. One of my mentors was Rob's first manager in the business, hyped up Rob all the time, used him as examples for things. And so I thought it was fitting we find a way to get this guy on the channel. Rob, how many times
Comes full circle.
Totally. How many times when you were a rep, how many times were you an All-American yourself?
So I won 7 All-American scholarships in about 2.5 years. So like, I think I could win it like 9 times and I won it 7 times.
Yeah.
Before I graduated.
So yeah, we're going to,
most of them were top 5. One of them was number 1. And then like the only one that wasn't was like 22nd or something.
Yeah. We're going to talk about what it means to be an All-American, how to become one, the habits and things like that. That helps somebody become an All-American. And part of the reason why Rob's the perfect guy to talk about this, he's coaching All-Americans right now. So Rob has what's called the All-American Academy. He's coached 25 All-Americans in the last year with these things, the skills, the habits, the mindsets, the routines, all of the things. He's also Hall of Famer. So walk us in a minute nutshell, what's your Cutco story? Started in college and you paid for college with your Cutco money, bought a couple houses. What's kind of your story?
I got called a million times and I was like, all right, I'll come in for the interview if they stop calling me. And he's just like, yeah, they'll stop calling you if you come in for the interview. My buddy Sean, and he was a successful branch manager. So I knew all about Cutco. And then when I got the job, I told my dad's girlfriend I got the job, and she had a homemaker from 20 years ago. She was actually more excited for me to start selling Cutco than I was. And that kind of sparked it for me. I was like, wait, she's really excited? I'm like, all right, let's do this. And at that time, I was working at the YMCA, making like $9 an hour. And in my fast start, it wasn't a crazy fast start. I think I sold like $3,000, but I made like a couple $100, way more than I made at the Y. And I just made a decision right there. I was like, Alex, I just was like, this Cutco thing I'm doing throughout all of college. Like, I'm going to pay for college doing this. And my dad, I think he got let go from his job. So I was like, I can either come out with $100,000 in debt with my college, or I can find a way to pay for it. And that's what sparked it. And I remember it to this day when I was a sophomore in college at that time, and they're over my winter break. And I was just like, Dad, I'm paying for college. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. And it was just that decision that I made 3 weeks into the job that like kind of willed me to get to that next promotion. And then like the trips and other things that were fun to win. But it was a blast.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you went into the interview just so they'd leave you alone.
Yeah.
Walked out with the job, and then you right away had something not a lot of people have right away, which is support from the fam. It sounds like your dad's girlfriend. Is that what it was? Dad's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Fired up, like, oh my gosh, Cutco, like I have a full set. That's helpful for sure. Definitely. And then you decided in that moment, like, all right, this is my vehicle right here. So you also then decided, you eventually at what point I should say, was it like, hey, I'm not just going to do this, but I'm going to do it at a high enough level that I'm going to win an All-American scholarship almost every single time?
Yeah, so that was so I started in January. I was playing spring ball for soccer. So I did it like part-time. I think I got to 15 grand by May. And I went out to an RDC that was like a rep development conference out in Arizona. And that's when I met Mike Arrieta, who at the time was like the best Cutco sales rep. And I asked him if he could be my mentor. And Mike that summer sold like 130 grand worth of Cutco. And I was just riding his coattails, learning from him. And I ended up selling like 50, 60,000 that summer, and just loved the recognition, won my first All-American. And that's where I kind of set the standard for myself. Like, no matter what, I'm winning every All-American I can win. And setting myself apart from thousands and thousands and thousands of people that do this job.
Yeah. Okay. So you had $50,000 summer, and then you're like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it. You mentioned Mike Arrieta. Anyone who's on my YouTube right now, if you go to my video about recommendations called how to explode your Cutco results with one line, that one-liner is stolen from Mike Arrieta. Literally stolen verbatim from his podcast with Dan Cassetta. But that's obviously a great guy to learn from and coattail from. You mentioned standards. So it became a standard of excellence for you. For someone to become an All-American, what are the, if you had to cherry pick 3 standards or routines or habits or things like that, what are those standards or habits or routines that make somebody into an All-American?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you do is up level your community. So what I did was I just looked up who were the best Cutco reps, college students, and I just, texted them all. I got all their numbers from their managers, and I just hit them all up. And Mike was somebody that responded and was just like, yeah, I'll help you out, which was awesome. So he, I say up level your community. And then committing to not the results, but the actions that get you there, right? Like you're big into fitness, Funk, right? Like, working out. It's like, you don't, every day you don't look at like, your weight, or, you don't look at like the results expecting to be in this incredible physique, or you don't look to be like an All-American by day 1 of a campaign. But it's like, okay, what do I need to do every single day to set myself up so at the end of the campaign, I'll be an All-American, I'll sell 50 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever it is that campaign. And it's like, what are the little things I need to do? Phoning, like making sure I respect my phoning time. Like phoning time is gold. So I would say up leveling your community and focusing on your actions. And then the third is just focusing on your attitude. It's easy to be excited when you sold a homemaker, an ultimate, you made a sale, you got 20 recs, you got 30 recs, but it's challenging to be excited when you have a no sale, when you have a cancellation, when you have a demo that you're really excited about, and then that person texts you saying, hey, I'm just really not interested in this at all, take me off your list, right? So it's like when you have those bad phone jams where you make 100 phone calls and like one person books a demo, right? And I've had those. It's super discouraging, but it's how quickly can you control your activity? Can you control your attitude? And you're like, my best demo comes after my worst demo. My best phone jam comes after my worst phone jam. And just having that reset button that you're able to press. So it's really up leveling your community, focusing on your activity, which in this it's phone calls, right? And then also just focusing on your attitude too.
So the first one, community, I would totally, environment is so important. So who are you, if I were to just to ride on that, like who are you talking to? Who are you surrounding yourself with? I think back to when I was a newer rep and let's say I had a bad demo and I go upstairs and I complain to, let's say, or I come home and I talk to my mom about it. Is she going to understand at all? No, she's going to ride the emotions that I'm feeding her. So who are you talking to after bad things happen? Like you were saying with attitude, which was the third, but environment, just surrounding yourself with great people, the community. Like he was saying, he used to reach out to the manager to get the reps number to connect. Now, like that wasn't that long ago, but you can just go on Instagram, find the top rep.
Yeah, you can just DM everybody. It's like it's really simple, Alex, but people don't do it.
Yeah.
It's simple, but people don't do it. And for the ones that do, they're the ones that are seeing the results because they're up leveling their community. So that's one of the big takeaways for anyone that's watching this channel. It's like, hey, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go on Instagram instead of looking at your favorite reels. Look up the top All-Americans, search them on Instagram, and just DM them. Everyone's friendly. Everybody wants to help out.
That's so true. I think about Zach Molzer, who was on the channel. Zach's made over $100,000 this year as a college student selling Cutco. And Zach, when I reach out to him and say, hey man, would you hop on the YouTube or would you hop on our team meeting? In a second, he's like, oh, for sure. If anyone DMs him, he'd be glad to tell you all the reasons why he's doing so well. Anybody would. So yeah, that's a great point. Commit to the actions. Success isn't sexy. That's like my tagline. It's just consistent, just showing up and doing it. The last one, I have a question for you on this. And then I want to wrap up with one more question after that is, so you said controlling the attitude of like when things aren't going your way, regrouping and still committing to the process and all of those things. Do you have any tips or any resources or any routines that make that a little bit easier? Because when I think about that, for me, it's It's always my vision, because I know what my goals are and I know what my vision is for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. It's easy for me to get over the little thing because I know how small it is. Is there anything for you that you know is helpful for either yourself or reps that you coach and work with?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think like your attitude is everything, and why do people have a bad attitude or a negative attitude? And it's usually because of the result that happened and it wasn't meeting their expectation. Meaning like they went into a demo that they thought was going to be a fire demo, like they thought they were going to crush it. Like the person that referred them bought an ultimate. Like this person, like you knew they were going to buy some stuff, and then like falls flat, no sale, no Rex, and it's like you focus on the outcome, right? So for me, it's the question that keeps popping into my head is like, I love making friends. Like if anyone knows me, knows that I really enjoy talking to people, getting to know them, becoming a friend with them. And that's really where I excel. So the question that I always ask myself is, how can I make a friend today? Or who did I meet yesterday that was like super cool that I'm just so grateful that I met that person? And, like going back to like my demo, when I was doing a lot of demos around college, it was like, I would have terrible weeks, right? I would sell like $1,000 when I wanted to sell $5,000 or 10 grand, but I would just find like, who was like really cool last week that I met? Who was really cool today, like that I met, like had a genuine conversation with? And how can I gain a friend mentality has got me like through like excelled at life. How can I gain a friend in every environment I'm in, whether it's going to a Christmas party with my wife Shelby? How can I gain a friend in this group where I don't know anybody, right? Or how can I gain a friend on my Cutco demo and genuinely, authentically connect with somebody? Because that's going to mean the most to me at the end of the day.
That's so good. The first thing, expectation. I feel like disappointment comes from expectation not meeting reality. So if you just 100%. Are able to keep your expectation in check, maybe strive for greatness, have goals for greatness, but don't necessarily expect all the time everything to go perfect. Some of the best planners I know, they always plan with a little bit of leeway because they know nothing ever really goes to plan. So I think that's so great. How can I gain a friend? When I think about my favorite demos ever, it's not the signature sets or the ultimate sets. Like I remember those, but the ones I remember, Deb Christensen. It was 2.5 hours. It was awesome. I don't think she bought anything. If she did, it was like a peeler. But I remember the name because I remember the relationship and the friend for sure. Last thing, Rob, someone wants to go be an All-American. Where do they start? What's the first step right now leaving this video? What do they do?
It's a great question. So like, where does somebody start? I think, making the decision in your head is great. And then I think planning, like you have to understand what it takes to win an All-American scholarship. It's changed a lot just based on minimums that you have to hit for the spring and fall campaign in the summer. But, breaking down the goal, I think it's really making that decision in your head that not even take All-American out of it. It's just like, I'm going to create a new standard for myself and I'm going to be one of the top people in the nation. It's like, because that's really what the All-American is. It's like defining yourself as one of the top Cutco college sales reps in the country when you have all these excuses that could pop up of school, of travel, of, the significant other, of like, all this stuff, sports. Like I played sports and had a girlfriend when I was in school and I still won them. And it was like taking 18 credits. And it's like, making the decision that you really want to set yourself apart. And then the how we'll find a way. Like we'll figure out how to get there.
That's good. So deciding today that this is something I'm going to do, making the commitment. And then I would say, text your manager and say, I'm all in. I want to be an All-American. Can you help me plan to get there?
Yeah. And accountability is the other thing too. Like, making sure that your manager's bought in, a Cutco friend is bought in to hold you accountable. Accountability is huge. Yeah.
It's all about community, right? I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Rob, for hopping on, and make sure that you share, like the video, subscribe, you know how it goes. But seriously, Rob, thanks for the time. I'm glad we could finally do this. We've been talking about this for a while.
Been talking about it for a long time.
So,
Happy to be on here. Thanks for having me, Alex.
yes, sir. We'll see you guys next time.